In this video, I'm going to introduce future value. What is future value? I believe the simplest way is to imagine a saving account. Suppose someone is opening a saving account and will save for some time, let's say 1 year. Over the 1 year period, this person is going to make several deposits. By the end of the investment period, that is 1 year, the saving account will have a balance. Net balance is the future value of his deposits made over the 1 year period. In this video, I'm going to use the examples on slide number 4, 5, and 6 on my note. On slide number 4, I have this simple example. Suppose we are looking at an investor. This investor is going to open a saving account and save for 1 year. Now it happens the saving account will make one interest payment per year. So one period is a year. We are looking at a 1 year, one period investment problem. The annual interest rate is 5%. So the period interest rate is 5%. This investor is going to save $100. So we have a $100 saved. This $100 is a cash outflow because it will leave the investor's pocket and will go into the investment. So we put a negative sign in front of it. We want to know the accounts balance. We know the accounts balance at the end of the investment period is called future value. So what's the future value at the end of the first period? This is a very simple question. Now, the future value at the end of the first year has two parts. The first part is the $100 saved today. So we call it principal. Now, the account will make 5% interest payment on the deposit. So the second part is 5% of this $100 bill. So the total sum is going to be $100 plus $5 interest. It's 105. So this is a very simple example. I'm going to work on the numbers a little bit. Future value at the end of the first period is going to be $100 deposit plus 5% interest on it. Now I group the numbers. You should say it's a $100 times 1 plus 5%. I will put down a 1 here. So if you look at the relation, the ending balance or the future value at the end of the first period is the $100 initial deposit times 1 plus the period interest rate saved for 1 period raised to the power of 1. So that is the future value at the end of year 1. Now I'm going to make this example a little more complex. So instead of saving for 1 year, let's assume this investor is going to save for 2 years. So we are looking at a 2-year, 2-period investment problem. We want to know the balance of this account by the end of year 2. In other words, the future value by the end of year 2. So how can we get it? I'm going to work on those 2 periods one by one. First, we work on the first period. That was done already. We know if we save $100, earn 5% for 1 period, we should have $100 and $105. So that is the balance of the account at the end of year 1. Now I'm going to move on to the second period. Now in the second period, we start with 105. We want to know the ending balance. So the ending balance, again, should have two parts. The first part is the 105. This is the amount saved at the beginning of this single period. And then the account pays 5% on the 105. So this is the interest. Now, the numbers 105 beginning balance plus $5.25. So that is the interest generated by the beginning balance. We have $110.25. Now again, I'm going to work on the numbers a little bit. The balance at the end of year 2, the future value at the end of year 2 is the sum of 105, the balance at the beginning of the second period, plus $5.25. Now, the $5.25 is the 5% earned on the beginning balance. So I'm going to group the numbers a little bit. You will say it's 105 times 1 plus 5%. I'm going to add a 1 here. So in other words, in the second period, the balance is the 105 earned here times 1 plus the 5% saved for 1 period. So that's a 1 here. Now think about this 105. How did we get this 105? So I'm going to move the formula, the relation here is a 105. Now the 105 is the ending balance by the end of year 1. It comes from the original $100. The $100 will earn 5% for 1 period. So that's how we get this 105. And then in the second period, we have a second 5% saved for 1 period. Now I'm going to group the numbers. So you should have 100 times 1 plus 5%, power of 2. Now if you look at the relation, the future value by the end of year 2 is the initial $100 times 1 plus the per period interest rate saved for 2 years. So let me just summarize here. That's what we got. So the future value by the end of the second period is the beginning deposit now times 1 plus the per period interest rate raised to the power of 2. So that's the number of investment periods. Now if I'm going to extend this example, suppose we want to save for 3 years. What is the future value of $100 saved today? You should get this relation. Future value by the end of year 3 is going to be the initial deposit of $100 times 1 plus the period interest rate saved for 3 periods. So you see the number 3 right here. Now we can extend it even further. So what is, suppose we are going to save the $100 for m periods. What's the future value by nth period? Should it be the initial $100 times 1 plus the period interest rate, raised to the power of n. So that represents the number of investment periods. Now I'm going to replace the numbers with letters. The initial $100, we know it's called the principal. Actually, in finance, we call it present value. This is the beginning of the account, the number on the very left of this timeline. So we call it present value, or PV. This is the interest rate. We know this is the R, interest rate. The N represents the number of investment periods. So I'm going to replace the numbers with letters. Future value at the end of a future time is going to be the initial deposit, the present value today, times 1 plus the period interest rate raised to the power of n. So this is the formula. So that's how we compute the future value.